Welcome to the Extra Time Podcast, where you'll hear sports stories you might not have heard about from people you might not have heard of. Let's get into this week's show.
Hey Extra Timers, and welcome in to a very happy edition of the Extra Time Podcast. I am very happy. It's a beautiful day. I'm donning the Hawks cap. We're a happy team at Hawthorn. We're a happy team at Extra Time, at least on my side of the desk. Finally, we're on the board in 2024. A great weekend it was, with a Max Verstappen win coinciding with a Hawthorn win, basically within minutes of each other. It was a terrific Sunday. Not so terrific for Woods' Saints, but he still had a great weekend. I'm sure the Burners did quite well, but
Blackburn.
I'm Aiden Box. Welcome in, Woodsy. I know you're keen to talk about it.
Blackburn won, but a bit devastated actually, because we recorded the podcast last Thursday just before the footy, and I posed the question, and I think this was my downfall. I think my downfall was saying that if the Dogs lose, would Bevo be in trouble? And what do? They do a bit of what most teams do when you have a crack at them, and bad kicking is bad football. They come out there and just put on an absolute training session. There were 22 witches hats in the red, white and black, and 22 Bulldogs players showed up. I also made the joke last week, and I must admit I was there in Thursday night going, where the bloody hell is the team? They did a bit of you again, but I don't think they rocked up at all.
Yeah, so you can't make that similar to me, because I'm always at least rock up. I might be always late, but I always rock up, which is something the Saints just didn't do, and that slow start really cost them, as you said. A 7-1 first quarter, and not only did the Dogs kick 7, they kicked 7 goals, 1 behind. So when you're playing a good football, because good kicking, Woods, is good football. Good kicking is good football, don't forget it. And it was football to the highest of qualities. 7 goals, 1 in the first quarter. Well, there was only 1 miss, because the Saints kicked their 1 goal straight, which was pretty good, but not enough. And they really just built off that. Another 5 in the second, to the Saints 3, and it was over by half-time with a score of 76-27. The Saints did their usual and did sort of rock up after half-time, but the damage had already been done. Big Naughty kicked 6, and Waitman had a few as well. Kicked 3, obviously straight. And I'll mention that in bad kicking is bad football, because I couldn't give any more of a rap to the Dogs. Their goal kicking was absolutely stupendous. It was remarkable to see. I thoroughly enjoyed watching it, regardless of how the game was over by the 20-minute mark of the first. I just enjoyed seeing the Dogs at their absolute best, and without Libba too, which was a shock to me. I thought they'd be carved in the midfield, but it was
just
no worries.
Surprised you said you enjoyed, like you're using the word enjoyed in that match sense. It was anything but enjoyable to watch.
It was very.
I guess as a neutral, it's all right to see your mate's team just get demolished, but I don't know what floats your boat in that sense.
Well, I'm a football purist, Woods, and when the team is kicking the football well, I just enjoy watching it. I don't care who the team is and who they're playing. I just enjoy watching football at the highest level, which it exactly was. Bailey Dale back in the team, a great game from him. I have to give him his flowers, because bloke was an All-Australian. Bevo said you're the sub this week, the week prior against Essendon, which was crazy. Came out, kicked that first goal from outside 50 or whenever he kicked. It was phenomenal. Had 39 touches, a career best, which is unreal as well. And his disposal efficiency was high as usual. But the round itself, obviously, it did kick off on Thursday night, as Woods said. For me, I think it was interesting in a way. I think it was great footy around the place. A lot of different stories, which you always want to see, but some blowouts really all around the place. I think too many for the league's liking and my liking, obviously starting with Thursday night. We had a couple close ones, which was good, probably potential game of the round in Adelaide, but then Collingwood 42 points. Carlton even ended up running out winners by 19 points. Not really a blowout, but not close in the end, as everyone thought it would be against the Giants. The Cats went up to the Gabba, which is no longer a fortress, just quietly, and they got it done by 26 points in absolutely torrential rain, so that could be considered a blowout in the conditions. West Coast, well, that is the story of the round. Winning that Western Derby by 37 points, Freo had genuine problems. The Swans were back to their clinical best. They'll finish in the top 4 if they play like that. It was just clinical stuff. The way they were scoring and moving the ball, unreal. And then the result of the round, and something I probably won't stop talking about unless you do stop me. The Hawks are on the board to the tune of 45 points. We took out the trash, also known as North Melbourne, quite easily at Marvel. So a few lopsided results. I still thought it was a pretty great round of footy. And yeah, just to go through them again, the Dogs by 60 over the Saints on the Thursday night. Controversy in Adelaide once again. I think when the home side in the Crows come out to play at Adelaide Oval, something always just happens. Something always happens to them. Just always does. Not sure why. Must be cursed. But yeah, Drape's little kip on the ball at the end saved the Bombers their second consecutive win on a Friday night by 3 points. Collingwood apparently are back, according to Slow-Mo Scargetta. They beat the Power by 42 points. So after being quite white hot, the Power just stumbled there. The Blues, the Giants really lacked Sam Taylor, I think, in that one. Charlie and Harry were having their way with the young defence. I thought Leikalia was phenomenal. 10 spoils in the first half. Absolutely unreal. That is huge. But just wasn't strong enough, just wasn't experienced enough in the end. And the Blues got it done by 19 points. And the lid is off again, as usual. The Cats, again, 26 points in torrential rain. The Lions were putrid in front of goal, but it was wet, so I'll probably let them off. We'll have to find out that later. But yeah, the Eagles, 37 points. The Swans by 53 over the Suns, who just cannot travel woods. I'm telling you, they get on a plane, they forget how to play football. And then the Hawks over North to finish off the round. But into... I just like how... We've been introducing the photo of the week. Last week it was Watermania. This week, I like how you touched on it in the Adelaide-Essendon game. It has to be this one up here. The diving on the ball and just the shocked faces. The celebration, the jubilation. A few players can't believe that wasn't holding the ball. I couldn't believe it wasn't holding the ball. A genuine swan dive. My brother and I and my old man were watching this back in Indy Town. And Zach, my little brother, and I were literally we stood up, jumped off the couch with arms, nearly knocked a bit, but arms outstretched, holding the ball motion, screaming, nearly woke my little sister up. It was just, like, Mum wasn't really happy, but it was just that sort of thing, because it was such a tense game, and after what the Crows did to the Blues, and the pressure they put on in that last term, and you can leave the photo up, because I'll talk about it in Bad Kicking is Bad Football as well. It's a great segue, actually. Just the pressure they're able to put on in final terms, you just know that they actually can steal this. Yeah. Adelaide are the sort of team that can steal this. And Tex probably played for a few before it. Maybe that played into the umpire's decision. Maybe it was the fact that there was 5 seconds on the clock, actually 5 seconds. But they were down by 3 points, right in front of goal. The ball comes out of the pack. Obviously, Essendon had all 20 men inside defensive 50, just trying to hold it up, which is how you save a game. You just try stoppage after stoppage. And the ball bundled out of there, and Big Drapes just put his, 6'5" frame, swan dived over the top. Like if you were making a snow angel, I know you usually make them on your back, but if you're making one on your belly, that's what he did over the football. Tex dived on top of him, laid a pretty good tackle. The ball apparently was dislodged, and that's why the umpire didn't call it holding the ball, but later vision shows that it actually was always under his arm, which by law I heard Damien Barrett read this out on the radio the other day. By law, it's still in his possession, so it should have been holding the ball. The Crows should have got a shot after the siren by the way of Tex Walker, who's probably the best kick in the comp. So another if-but for the Crows.
Yeah, well, it is what it is, and we move on. And unfortunately, as I said, I think that's game, or as you said, that's game of the round. Considering the other results were kind of a bit once lopsided.
Yeah,
I can't argue with that. I was going to say, I think for you being a Hawthorn supporter, I'll give you the Hawthorn Melbourne, but nah. I think Essendon Adelaide, it had everything. It had that controversial finish that, as a football fan, you just can't hate.
Yeah.
Because it gets spoken about. Like, you hate the fact that it happens. If it's not your team, you don't care. You talk about it and you're so passionate. As you said, you almost destroyed our lovely TV in demonstrating what you did. But, I mean, it gets people talking.
It draws your emotion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know there's plenty of times, it might not be at the end of games, but it's that type of things. But when something like this happens and then the siren goes and your team's either up or just gets defeated by something like that. I mean, it's football. It's
Yeah.
sport.
And I won't go on a big long tangent as usual here, but I will say that I hate games on Friday, on prime time slots. Like a Friday night or a Saturday night. I hate games that are decided by the fourth quarter. So you end up sitting there at 9:30, 10 o'clock going, well, I want to watch it because it's footy, but I just wish I had a reason to watch it in terms of it being close. That is exactly what you want on Friday night. And yes, the league can't control how teams come out and play in prime time. But you want to be watching that game right down to the last second, because that on a Friday night, if I'm watching the football, that is exactly what you want, served on a platter. So congratulations to both of those teams. The Crows will be flat, but they did so well again, just to not only make a game of it, but really throw fear through the hearts of the Bombers. Jake Saligo was phenomenal. He's really come along this season so quickly as well. Jordan Dawson, people were saying you should probably drug test this guy over the radio. I was driving home back to Inverloch, I was listening to the radio, and they were saying the sort of second and third quarter he had to bring the Crows back. Genuinely, what is this guy put himself after half-time? He finished with 31, but I think he had over 20 touches and 12 goals.
If you're doing your usual trivia of AFL fantasy games, I mean, he had 155 fantasy points. So 9 tackles, as you said, 31 disposals, 7 marks. I mean, that's just a sensational game. And metres gained is 734.
Yeah, so he's back to his best. I mean, they were lacking that in the first few rounds, and maybe if he played that way, they might have a few more wins on the board, which is what they really need. They can have as many performances from Dawson and Sligo as they want, but they need wins. They don't have them right now. A club that do have a few of them is Essendon, and they're led by who I think is a top 3 captain in the competition. Zach Merritt was phenomenal again. A goal, 28, 5 tackles, 7 clearances. Just the way he defends and leads that team on his back and with his big heart is something I absolutely love. But on the Bombers, it wasn't all good. Some of it was bad. Most of it was bad.
Would you say bad kicking is bad football?
It was. And we spoke about it in our extra time group chat. And Simone Wern, obviously a huge name in our extra time team, was saying, Boxy, I think it's solidified if the Bombers can't hold on here. It has to be them. 10 goals, 18. And when you are dominating a side in the first half like they were Adelaide, if they'd kicked even half of those that they missed, the game wouldn't have never even been close. And there's teams in the competition is set out right now where, and Carlton a couple of weeks ago when Adelaide beat them was the same thing. You can't just get a lead, dominate and not finish your work and just think, oh yeah, we've still got the lead. It's not as big as it should be, but we'll be fine. You're not fine anymore. Because any team can come back and really put the finger on. You saw even Hawthorn against the Pies when the Pies were inaccurate in gather round. The Hawks nearly stole that one. Why stress yourself out? Like, just kick your goals and you won't be stressed by the end of the game. They could have won it by 5-6 goals. Instead, just the 3 points, and it took a Drape's swan dive and a missed call for them to win. Because Adelaide kicked 11-9. They did everything right. And all they had to do was stay there because they knew that the Bombers just keep butchering their shots and kept them in the game. So my answer was, I actually said to Simone, it doesn't matter if they win or lose, it's still bad football. Sometimes you can win playing bad football. And it's not often, but sometimes you can. Sometimes you win ugly, and that's what the Bombers did. But boy, I think they'd have to be in front of the sticks down at the hangar this week, because 10-18, when you playing your best footy, dominating, you should win that game comfortably in the fourth quarter. You should be able to, take key players off, not be stressed, recover the next day after having a full fourth quarter performance. And especially against a team like the Crows, then they're going to come late and they're going to put heaps of pressure on in the fourth quarter. Just woeful from them. So I think they've got to take the award regardless of their win. I want to single out, like I said before, Brisbane were absolutely putrid in front of goal. There's no lying about that. I think they kicked 4 goals, 13, if I'm not mistaken. I do want to let them off the hook, although I don't know what's happened to this Gabba Fortress thing. That's completely eroded now. They're 0-3 this season at home, which is unbelievable. They win more at the G than they do at home now, which I can't believe. Maybe it's because I went on a rant about their mental demons, so they've recovered from them, but they've forgotten that they always win at home. But 4 goals, 13 is pretty horrendous. I will let them off though this week because it was a monsoon. It was bucketing. It was absolutely incredible the amount of rain they got down there. But yeah, 4 goals 13. If they do anything like that again, they will be on my book for relegation in terms of never playing good footy again. But I'm sure they can. But yeah, they were close. I mean, can't be doing that and then thinking that you'll contend. Maybe they can't contend for the top 4 anymore after that result. Who knows? The Cats look pretty good. Flag favourites if you ask me. But Charlie Curnow, mate, there's another medal around your neck already, mate, if you want it. The Coleman is beckoning, mate, and you've kicked 3 goals 4 after the week before kicking about the same. Mate, you could have 2 bags of 7. You'd be leading the Coleman by 10 goals. It's just, it perplexes me, to be honest, because the ball he gets from his all-star midfield, the openness of that forward line with teams having to worry about Big H as well, you're going to get your 150 shots, mate. Hit them. Like, even if he kicked 5 goals 2, I'd be happier. 3 goals 4, you can't be doing that, mate. I can't say he's a top 5 forward in the game right now if you're kicking that way. You just can't. I had to single him out. The Blues, well, they resurrected their kicking from the Adelaide game. It still wasn't amazing, but they're off the hook as well. So I'm going to give it to the Bombers because they almost lost themselves a game by kicking badly. The Saints survived because they just didn't really get much of the football. And on the other side of that, I have no words to describe what the Western Bulldogs did. Phenomenal!
They must have been listening to this podcast and actually gone, this Boxy, we got to get off this.
It's incredible what they did. At one point, 8 straight on the set shot. You can't even fathom that in today's game because everyone's so hopeless. I have no words. I don't want to actually say anything, Woods, because I know that if I give them too much of a rap, they'll probably go out and miss everything this weekend. I don't want them to do that. I just want to take this in. Just remarkable. Go back and watch it. Go back and watch all their set shots. Just beautiful stuff. Naughty. 6 straight. Some of those set shots from a bloke that's usually completely wayward. There was one that the Bont hit, and it just curved back right to left. So nice. I was in my chair just going, I love this sport so much. Congratulations to them. That is good kicking, and that is good football. Congratulations to the Dogs. I think they had the smiling assassin, Brady Johnson, down there helping them out. Maybe it's blindfold goal kicking, Woods. Maybe that is the key. Maybe, teams should try that.
It's back to basics.
Congratulations to them. That's the end of Bad Kicking is Bad Football. That is just phenomenal. I had to mention them. Well done. Also a little hot tip to North. They continue to kick more goals than behinds, but they just don't kick enough of them. And they were no good because my Hawks, thanks to this fella, my boy of the week, I wish Fish was here because this guy is an absolute megastar, one of the best small forwards in the game. I don't care what you say. Dylan Moore, I nabbed that from the Hawks Instagram. He MVP in every sense of the word. 4 goals straight. That is good football. And not only did he kick 4 goals straight, he basically set up almost all of our scores through the midfield. I love it when he plays that high half forward, runs through the guts, gets the clearances, kicks the goals as well. He's such a live wire. It doesn't matter how short the guy is. He is a star, and he's so important to us. I loved it when Sammy put his faith in him and put him in the leadership group. He's a vice captain, and he deserves that. 20 touches, 4 goals straight, 5 marks, 3 clearances as well through the middle. That's just Dylan Moore at his best. He hasn't been great at the start of the year, and he came out and said that. I've been off my game. Him and Sicily said we need to be better. They were better. I love the wrestling at training. We don't have vision, but they were wrestling each other on the ground at training after that woeful performance the week prior against the Suns, and I loved it. And I've got to give a little hat tip as well to John Newcomb, because you could not have been closer to Boy of the Week. I'm sorry I couldn't put you in there, Nuke, but 32, 6 tackles, 9 clearances after our midfield was absolutely decimated by Anderson and Rowell the week before. Exactly what we wanted. Exactly what we wanted. He was everywhere, up and down the ground. His work rate was enormous. And he uses his big body so well. He might not be the quickest guy, but he gives it absolutely everything. And he doesn't lose one-on-ones inside the contest. And that's exactly what we needed for him. The midfield was just working beautifully. And I will talk about this game for a little bit because the week before against the Suns, for some reason we started playing timid, slow footy, trying to chip the ball around, trying to just be they looked like they were playing scared. They weren't playing that Hawthorn brand under Mitchell. Let's just get the footy and go. It's a track meet. We're going down to those goals. We don't care if we turn it over. We don't care who's got the footy. That's what I was expecting. Up on the Gold Coast, it was completely the opposite. And the Suns ran all over us because we butchered the footy trying to play slow, just scared footy. Came out against North Melbourne, kicked 9 goals straight in that second quarter. I think North barely even got it inside 50. Complete dominance. I know North aren't that good, but it was more for me seeing that brand of football that the Hawks were playing. It made my whole day better. It made the whole year better. I don't really mind if we win again. Like I said last year when it was tough, just keep playing that way. Keep playing that way because the way the league is, like I said before, you'll get a team that'll kick inaccurately, and all it takes is a bit of token, classic Hawthorn pressure inside and a rush, and all of a sudden we've got a chance to win a game and steal a game in the fourth quarter. It's going to happen. It almost happened against Collingwood. Then we went over to the Gold Coast and for some reason completely went against how we play, and then it was back on the weekend. Just took Clarko's side to the cleaners. I don't know what happened to that guy, but we've got a new guy and he's way better. I'm really happy. You were on the board. Congrats to Maury, congrats to Nuke. It was great to see. And Gunnar got a few goals as well. Great to see him back. And even my boy Marbiol, who I've been a bit negative on, he was great as well up forward. So the Hawks were on the board. It was great to see. Donning the beanie. Hopefully we can just play a bit more of that footy this weekend. I'm not sure, it's going to be as easy because we've got a red hot Sydney. I'll be there. I think I'm going along. The Bud is getting on it as well, so I can't wait for that. But yeah, it was so good to see. I couldn't be happier.
I'm glad that you're happy. I mean, I've got nothing to discuss about my team's performance, so I think we'll just
move on.
I think we're just going to move on to a few other segments in regards to the AFL. So obviously, first up, I think is this thing here. As you can see, there's no Giants there.
First time in a while too. No orange left. The orange has run out. It's funny what happens when they decide to take a proper bout, Woods.
Yeah, well, I just thought I'd do this. So we've got the new champs. Hopefully this works. Yeah. I'm not sure if it will or not. Great. Yep, beautiful. But so Carlton defeated GWS to win the title. And they're looking both dangerous. I think these two teams are going to be premiership contenders.
Unlike the Giants, Woods, the Blues have taken the belt. And instead of going, we'll just take a light opponent this week and we'll just make sure we defend it. We've got the undefeated Cats this weekend, the Blues.
Oh.
So that, if I've ever seen one, is a heavyweight bout to all proportions. First versus fourth on the table. Undefeated Cats against the one-loss Blues. That's mega. For some reason, the time slot is putrid. 4:30 on a Saturday afternoon. But it is at the G, which will be packed out. It's a Cats home game, and it is at the G. Obviously, the Blues are too big to go to the Cattery, but I can't pick that one. It's going to be mega, and whoever comes out on top will get the belt.
I'm sure it's going to be a good one, and we'll look at the other games later on, but we move on, and I think I'm going to ask you first before I answer myself. Who can win the flag?
We'll take the X off Hawthorn. We're back. No, I'm kidding. I don't think we can. Look, I'd like to put Adelaide there, but I don't know. They probably just don't have enough wins on the board. I'd love to be cautious. Freo are pretty close. Who did I have on the chopping block? I think it was the Crows and the Dockers. I think you've already got them on there. Look, at the moment, it's not looking good for either one. I think they could still... Freo's still right there. They're in 9th at the minute. They're the same win-loss as the Dogs. And they're both how do you pick their seasons? I think the Crows are 1-5. Look, it's not their fault. You cannot say it's their fault. People say have the game won earlier. But when stuff like that happens, you got to feel for the Crows a little bit.
I was about to say,
put one through them.
I was going to say, you're talking about Adelaide or Fremantle, because Fremantle didn't even show up till the second.
Yeah, I haven't even discussed them, but they've got some serious stuff going on, I think. Like everything I said about Brisbane is it's back on Freo now. They've got the team, they've got everything they need. They've got the way they play is great. The midfield is phenomenal. The young forwards are coming alive, and their defence is probably the best in the comp. But for some reason, and it has to be mental, for some reason they just can't put teams away. They can't win games late, and now they can't even beat youngest side in the comp in West Coast, or one of the youngest. So at home, in front of a full Optus.
Well, it's at home. I mean, it was a West Coast home game, so there might have been a bit more West Coast supporters.
Yeah. An interesting stat I saw as well, Nat Fyfe hasn't won a derby for about 10 years, I think.
I think it's funny you mentioned actually Nat Fyfe. We forgot to bring up the Harley Reid incident.
Which incident?
You didn't see the incident?
I didn't see it.
I think
he
we'll
pushed Nat Fyfe
overlay.
over, is that what you're saying? Yeah. He also took a hanger and he kicked a goal, and he had about 25 plus disposals.
I'm just talking about
and he's not playing this week, Woods.
I'm just talking about the one where he's kind of had a bit of it. Somebody showed me, and I've gone. First thing I've noticed, he's niggling Nat Fyfe, right? So if Fyfe just rightfully, as you do with someone who's on you kind of give him a push. What does Harley do? Right back, just going.
Just shoves the two-time Brownlow medalist
onto the ground
turf.
like he's nothing.
Yeah, I can't believe it. I know he's young and it's a big trip from West Coast to Gold Coast, but they've rested him this week. Isn't he just finding his feet? Isn't he playing his best football? I don't know.
Don't know what it is. It might be a case of he's had two rippers and it's just like, okay, right.
It's not fair on the comp. Sit down.
I don't know what their policy is with football clubs, but it's saying that I'm like, with a younger team, you would like to see that rotation of younger players. So you get a few players playing well, and it's like, okay, well, how is his body handling it? The rigours of AFL are so much bigger than junior footy that it might be a case of he's pushed himself and he's like, okay, just go easy for a week and then go back and you might see it with more younger players.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting to me. I definitely wouldn't have made that call. I think if you're going to come in the league and play that well, keep playing him while he's hot, and then at the end of the season, if he's tired, rest him then, because they're probably not going to be playing or bothering finals. But I just really hope he doesn't lose that spark against the Bombers the week later at home. But anyway, across through Adelaide.
Adelaide.
And that's all I'll say for now.
So
I think everyone else is
five
still in
teams.
contention. The Saints, boy, on the chopping block. If they keep
just
not
for
showing
you,
off.
so they're on the chopping block for you.
Oh boy, it was ugly.
Okay.
It was ugly.
Oh well, it's time for mine. As we get mine up, I don't know how many different. So yeah, the Dogs. Well, I'm putting two more teams on red crosses.
Okay.
So I am actually putting Fremantle.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, that's okay.
And I've mentioned for the past few weeks about the Saints rocking up at Boxy o'clock.
Yeah,
You can't be doing that and winning a flag. So
This is tough to watch.
we can't.
Yep.
I'm just saying now.
It did appear that way.
If we win the flag here, I can take him off at some point, but right now, I can't see it. I think we're 2-3 years away from being contenders, and rightfully now I've just got to go, okay, well, if I put the marks on it now, put the red mark on it now, put the cross on it now, I'm not going to be as high expectations and going, oh, well, come on, just leave it there. But having said that, looking at the teams that I think I can, I think I've only got 10 teams now. Round 6, yeah, Brisbane, Carlton, Collingwood, Essendon. They're still there. I mean, looking at where they are, they're 7th. They've got 4 wins. Geelong, Gold Coast, they're on the edge. GWS, Melbourne, Port Adelaide, and just seeing where they are, yeah, they're 5th. And Sydney, who are 2nd. So I'm quite happy with this at the moment. I mean,
huge game this Friday night. Power, who will be annoyed. They will be a little ticked off that they had their chance at the reigning premier and they blew it. And they host your travelling Saints, who will be much the same, embarrassed, much like the Dogs were before they mince-meated them. So hopefully that'll be a great matchup. It's on the Friday night, the lone game on the Friday, 7:40 over in Adelaide. So I can't wait for that one to see which team will strike and hit the punch, because both of them need to. But
now, obviously, that by the time this podcast comes out, there will have already been one game played in Richmond and Melbourne, who would have played last night if you're watching this as the podcast comes out, or
The
Anzac Day Eve.
The annual Anzac Eve match. I love that one. I love how the stadium goes dark and they have the service pre-game.
You have the torch come in and lighting. I love it.
No matter how good or bad each team is, it's just one of those games.
You can also hear a pin drop, I think, in that, as well as the Anzac Day game of Essendon and Collingwood. You hear the pin drop, and the two Anzac Day games where if you're watching this after Anzac Day, they will have already played. If you're watching this as the episode comes out, well, it'll come out about 12 o'clock, so you got a few hours to listen to us and then maybe watch a few trivias, who knows. Essendon, Collingwood and GWS Brisbane after that.
A double header on Anzac Day, and it's amazing. I love it. Often, as good as the traditional Anzac Day clash is, sometimes I actually find myself watching and finishing that game and going, oh, sometimes I just wish there was another. Like, you just wish there was more. And this year there is more. And the Giants in the nation's capital will host the Lions in what should be another massive game. Two teams that come off losses again, which games they probably could have won, should have won, big games against good opposition, and both also need to hit that punch. So the double header on Anzac Day is just mouth-watering in every way you look at it. It's mouth-watering. Like I said, the Power and the Saints on the Friday night, it just gets better. And then on Saturday, North host Adelaide down at Blundstone. That will be a little bit chilly down there, I'll tell you that. First game down in Tassie this year for the Kangas. The Crows looking for that second win. I think this is a must-win for them if they're any hope of trying to resurrect their season. You cannot lose this game. I don't think they will. After that, it's the Cats and the Blues, like we mentioned before. Probably the game of the round for me, the heavyweight title bout. And then the Dockers and the Dogs, and this is really huge because for the Dogs and Bevo, was that a fluke? Was that because you're under pressure? Can you do that when you're not under pressure? Can you do that when people aren't bullying you into the corner? And the Dockers, they need to show everybody that they're not complete and total frauds, because at the moment they are. They're on fraud watch.
Well, this might be a game where whoever wins, if Dogs win here, I might just take away that red cross. Be the first one I take away, because I think this is the challenge.
Firepower. They should be in the top four with their personnel. We'll see in that one. That's on the Saturday night prime time. And then on Sunday, a couple of belters once again. The two coasts meet on the Goldie at People First. And the Suns host the Eagles, and I think the Suns will probably win by 100 because they're at home. Home cooking tastes so much better for them. They still cannot win on the road. So for me, I just don't see them any different this year at this point. I just cannot believe that they are so bad on the road. But at home, they should take care of the Eagles easily, especially since the main man Reid won't be there. And then to finish it off once again, they love putting us at this slot, the graveyard slot, as some people say. Twilight, 4 o'clock at the G. Lance Buddy Franklin will be honoured with a lap around the G. It's the Hawks and the Swans, his two teams, 17th versus 2nd, but it's usually pretty close.
Second last versus second.
Yeah. And I just hope we play a bit more of the same footy we did on the weekend. I'm actually really keen to watch the Swans. I love my boy the Lizard, so I'm just happy to go and see a great game of footy to finish off the round. But something I didn't like seeing on the weekend was the almost 8 or 9 goal reviews in the Hawks game, Woods. And I'm not going to go into it, but boy, it just saps momentum. And I'm not sure if you saw during the week, but there's some big controversy over in Europe, in England, in the Premier League. So obviously for those that follow the Premier League, the teams, well, they play a competition. There's no real grand final or the like as in AFL, but you can get relegated. So Nottingham Forest is a team that's been in the top tier, been in the Premier League for a number of years. They're in a relegation battle. They played Everton. So Nottingham are 17th, right above the line at the moment. They played Everton, who's above them in 16th. Everton won 2-0, so it should be story over. But it isn't. During that match, there was 3 potential penalties not awarded to Nottingham Forest. Obviously, 3 penalties, some would say, if you hit all of those 3, you win 3-2. None of those were awarded. All of them went to VAR, or the review system, like we have when you see the big Crypto.com, best sponsorship in footy. None of them were awarded. But it gets better. So after the game, Forest's social media team went out and somehow thought it'd be a great idea to absolutely blast the officiating, I guess you could say, organisation in Europe. Blasted them, said that We should have got those chances. The only reason we didn't, and this is a loose quote, this is not exactly what I said, but along the lines of the video operator was a Luton fan. Now, Luton are behind them in the standings. So Luton are currently in the relegation zone. They're only 1 point behind Forest. So that game was crucial to Luton that Nottingham lost it, which they did. So Forest have come out and accused the operator of being a Luton fan and cheating Woods. So I thought that was a big story, and the reason I bring it up now is because they've actually launched an appeal. Now, people were saying, obviously, Adelaide have been robbed. Last year, this year, obviously the goal reviews are no good. Do you ever see that sort of thing happening in AFL? Because the way it's going, it's boiling.
Imagine
it will boil over at one point.
Imagine if the Adelaide Essendon game was a grand final or a prelim final. Like, now, okay, they're not really, you can't really say they're a contender, so it's a different kind of level. But last year with the finals, okay, you could have actually played a part into it. But imagine, and being a St Kilda supporter, I know that a few Geelong supporters might not know about this, but Tom Hawkins hit the post in 2009 before the score review happened. So I want a review, I want a recount, I want an appeal, and I want the 09 grand final replayed. Thank you very much.
It's just unbelievable.
But that's what it comes down to. I mean, you've got to accept the human error. Like I do in 09, I accept that the human error is there. And it's the VAR, if you're going to do it, you've got to have people that are unbiased. You've got to have people that aren't going to
Forest have
potentially sway the thing. And I mean,
they've actually requested that the VAR audio be played out and released to the public to make sure that there was no funny business. So that's remarkable. For me, I agree with you, and I saw a video on SEN socials last week, and it was good old Razor Ray talking about the goal reviews and the decisions and the robberies and things like that. And he said the way he was brought up when he played footy as a kid was the umpire makes a decision, you shut up. Like, he makes a decision, you shut up, because it is never ever going to be changed. So I just find it interesting that. Yeah, I'm sort of in that sense. I believe in that sense that the umpire is there to make decisions. He is also a human. He does make mistakes, as do all the players. But I'm also of the impression of it needs to be more consistent in terms of the goal review, because, I mean, I was watching the Sydney Suns game and the goal umpire got decked. She was on the ground, like literally Sam Draper style, belly down on the ground. There was about 6 players on the goal line contesting, big mountains of blokes on the goal line. She had her head up, and she called for the review, understandably, because there's people on top of her she can barely see, and she made the correct call in the end. She called the behind from the ground. Yeah. And then in the Hawthorn game, we have goals going straight through the middle, and we have reviews for them. And the main thing people are saying is they all get reviewed back to the middle anyway, so why do we have to go through the... Like, Jack Ginnivan kicked a goal for Hawthorn in the second quarter.
I think you
should have brought the house down. There was not even a celebration because they went straight to the review.
As I think you mentioned in one of our group chats, it kind of ruins the momentum. I actually saw a vision of a local footy game. It was just filming basically a pack with a goal umpire. The ball's going up and the pack kind of goes up. The goal umpire gets squished out. He's still got focus on it. The ball gets touched about a foot behind the line. And he signals, goes there, confidently goes goal. I'm there going, why isn't that a thing? Where is it that these goal umpires are going? Are they too afraid to make a mistake? Are they too afraid to go, it was a goal? If it's touched, I think this is where you've got to kind of draw the line here. If you're confident it's a goal, call it a goal. Let them review it. If it was touched on the line, touched off the boot, they can review that. If you're not sure, and this is where I think that confusion comes into play, if you're not sure about it, you think it was touched, rather than calling the behind, then call for a score review. If you're unsure, if you're pretty sure you touched the line, pretty sure you touched the ball before. That's what it's coming down to. You're not going to get those decisions where it's clearly a behind. They're going to review it, and it ruins the momentum going forward. Because guess what? the opposition have so much more time to set up.
Yeah.
So it's kind of that thing of, as I'm talking about, I'm there going, well, you're never going to have one system that's perfect. You're always going to have some criticism no matter what it is. So
yeah, and obviously if you have something there to help you, anyone would use it. But I just think, back yourself into the decision. And it's easy for us to say, I know, but yeah, it's just one that annoyed me. But hopefully we don't see people get so annoyed that they go full Nottingham Forest style. Not that even if that guy was a Luton fan, not that it really helped them, because my Brentford Bees beat them 5-1 recently as well, so that doesn't help their chances anyway. Maybe they do need to cheat, but something I thought was interesting. I don't mind the just make your decision, and then look, if the camera disproves you, fine, it's a camera. Our eyes aren't as good as cameras anyway.
yeah,
Let Ginnivan celebrate that one. Let it go back to the middle. Hawthorn's pumped up, the crowd's pumping, which is why football is played, for the crowd, for the people.
and I think a lot more
And
reviews.
then if it's wrong, it's wrong.
I think a lot more reviews should be silenced, in silence. So it's not, it's clearly a review. It's like, and you go to it, as you said, all goals are going to be reviewed anyway. So why not just have that there?
Yeah, it's an interesting talking point. I'm sure it'll be the talking point that survives the whole year, because I don't think it's going to drastically change before the end of the year, when they're obviously going to review it all and see what happens, just like the tribunal and everything as well. Anyway, it's a bit dark. We love footy. We just want it to improve. But something that is improving, and it's building momentum as it should. The Olympics and Paralympics, Woods, as we know, they are towards the back half of this year, July, August sort of time. Obviously winter for us, but it'll be beautiful summer weather over in Paris, France, which is where it'll be. And we've just had another announcement. So I mentioned last episode, we had our first 14 Olympians out of the athletics section. Obviously, I'm missing a few Olympic and Paralympic disciplines, I know that. Make sure you send them through if you see a few announcements as well. We hate to miss things, but what I just saw the other day was our Paralympians, or para-athletics athletes. So our first few have been announced here. Congratulations to all of these superstars. We've got Michael Barian, I'm going to butcher half of these, I apologise. Madison D. Rosario, Angus Hinksman, Reese Langdon, Marley Lovell, Vanessa Lowe, Michael Roger, and James Turner. And all of these athletes are genuine stars. I did a bit of work for athletics over the summer, and I got to know a few of these names, watch them in action, I guess, and multiple award winners here. I'm sure a lot of these are genuine medal chances in the Paralympics, which kicks off, I believe, after the Olympics, so towards the end of August. It's just going to be phenomenal. Our Paralympic team, as it always is just built beautifully. Congratulations to these guys. I can't wait to watch it. The Aussies in Paris, they all got their tickets. I love how the Olympic team all get their big sort of printed out Paris ticket. It's great to see a really nice bit of media work there. Congratulations to them. And it builds nicely, Woods, into my weekly wonder as we go to Around the Grounds, which is another jam-packed segment, probably the biggest of the day. It's Isaac Beecroft. Now, this fellow I did get to watch in the Oz All Schools Champs, because yes, the kid is 16. He's still eligible to compete in the juniors, in the school championships, but he has actually gone over seas, strutted his stuff. Now, this guy is an absolute star. At that All Schools Championships in Perth back in last December, he took the mickey, really. The guy is the best speed walker I have actually witnessed. And I haven't witnessed a lot, I've got to be honest, but he took that title. He did his trademark arms waved, pointing, this is my stuff. This is me right here. And he was saying, is that a record? Is that a record? I want the world record. I want to be world champion back then. Well, he's gone over and he is a world champion. 39.56 in the 20-kilometre walk. Just 16 over in Turkey. And he led Australia to a team's third place. So third place as a team. Isaac was the world champion, first in the men's. So the kid is 10K race walk, 39 minutes.
I was about to say 10K, 20K race, 40 minutes. It's 2 minutes per kilometre.
No, I got that.
If you're doing that, that's a bloody good effort. But 10K still, I mean, that's
bloke's lightning. Shout out to Mitchy Dyer and Straight At It for the graphic as well. Pitched that from him. But yeah, just make sure you remember this kid's name. I think I mentioned Gout last week, another 16-year-old sensation. Athletics in Australia is in such a good spot. And this kid he's going to win medals in the future, that's for sure. An absolute star. So here's my weekly wonder. I've got two though this week. So my other weekly wonder, I had to squeeze her in because equally as remarkable, it's Tori Lewis, the current fastest woman in Australia. She holds the Australian 100-metre women's record, and she debuted in the Diamond League in the past week. And the Diamond League is basically a bit of a big bash style athletics comp. I'm pretty sure it travels around the world. On debut, the 19-year-old, just not too shabby, 22.96 in the 200 from lane 9, took first. And this quote on the right here is because she didn't even know until she watched the replay. And she could not believe it, but she actually beat current world champion Sha'Carri Richardson from the United States on debut from lane 9. Just, if you don't mind, Sha'Carri, obviously, lightning.
One to watch in Paris, I would say.
So, I think you will see her in Paris. She's actually still eligible to go to the junior champs. I think she'll probably end up at both, if not, definitely at Paris. We need to get her over there. She's lightning quick, Tori Lewis. And, yeah, took out the 200-metre dub in Jiamin in China. Just remarkable. That speed, 22.96, and then to beat Sha'Carri, who is the world's best right now, among a field of others as well who are right there. It's just remarkable stuff to do at 19. So make sure you remember the names. Tori Lewis and Isaac Beecroft. They're my weekly wonders this week. Just remarkable stuff going on in the world of athletics and para-athletics. I cannot wait for July and August. I just want it to come right now because we know the green and gold, as they always do, are going to represent beautifully. Someone else that represented the country beautifully over the weekend, as he just always does. As his sophomore year just goes from bound to bound here. There's Oscar Piastri, my boy, Brighton's golden boy. He raced also in China, so not alongside Tori. This Chinese Grand Prix was in Shanghai. The first time it's been there since, I think, 2019. So it was pretty new to a lot of the drivers. And even the ones that had been there before was a little new because there was a sprint race, which was the first time they'd been back. They had one practice into the sprint, and Oscar Piastri continues to score. Every race he competes in, Woods, he just continues to score. And he was on the board again in the sprint race, scoring 2 points. And then in the main race, he scored 4. He finished 8th. But that doesn't sound amazing, but it sure was, because right around the 30 or 45 lap mark, I think it was in the 30s, there was a safety car because there was numerous things happened basically, and to sum it all up, there was a safety car. At which point Oscar was looking all right, as he usually does in the top echelon of the points. Pitted, didn't have a great strategy anyway, but then at the end of the safety car running, Max Verstappen just decided to wait around the hairpin and then take off. Now, basically, for those that don't quite know F1, under safety car conditions, you're not allowed to overtake. You're not allowed to go really in front of anyone. That's a penalty, and you have to go at about a quarter or half pace of the car, quite slow. It's still over, usually over 100 clicks, but looks quite slow. Way slower than the cars are sort of built to go for safety reasons, obviously, because you're behind the safety car. When the safety car ends, the driver that leads the race, leads the pack, chooses when he wants to take off out of that safety car speed back to full race speed. And usually, if you're smart, you try and catch all the other drivers off guard so you don't get overtaken off the rip. Max is very good at that since he leads the race a lot. This is obviously, like you see, a pretty tight hairpin turn here. I think it's the second to last or third last corner of the track. Max goes round in first. He's trailed by Oscar's teammate Lando Norris, and he catches Lando off guard and basically takes off as soon as he gets around the corner. The only problem is that turns on a concertina effect, and because all of these cars can't overtake each other, they ended up all having to slam the brakes on because Max has started so abruptly and they were going so slowly. So we see this is Fernando Alonso going through the corner. He actually locked up, which probably didn't help either, but still, they're the best drivers in the world. Should be able to brake without notice, and without notice I mean within 0.3 seconds, because that's how good their reaction times are. So Lewis Hamilton behind him, George Russell, he brakes. This is Oscar. So that car with a little bit of orange or papaya on it is Oscar Piastri. He breaks. This is Danny Rick. So I was really positive on Oscar. He actually ended up scoring after this incident. This is Ricardo, who, if you've read my article on the Extra Time website, really needed points here. He had a horrible DNF in Japan on the first lap. He hasn't scored. He's been given the ultimatum, allegedly, and he really just needed points. He was running in ninth at this point. He was in the points. He had to pit again, but he was looking brilliant for his first points of the year and potentially career-saving points. He breaks in front of Oscar, fine. This is Lance Stroll, the Canadian driver. You see how his teammate and everybody else stopped. He, for some reason, decided he's not going to brake right until he just sees Daniel's rear, and he rear-ends Daniel. Actually ended up, Daniel, after this, basically, diffuser, everything snapped off the bottom of his car as it would be. He was airborne. He completed another lap, lost about 6 or 7 places, couldn't go anymore because the damage was too great. He wasn't driving an F1 car anymore. He was just driving a tractor, basically. But because of this, he's obviously shunted Oscar, which is not Daniel's fault because he's airborne. And Oscar's car picked up similar damage, not quite as bad. But even with that damage and being incredibly slower, Oscar was able to finish the race and finish in the points once again. So a great drive from him.
I saw this and I was just
we don't like Lance Stroll around
I was
here.
about to say, I saw this. I saw Daniel Ricciardo's comments and Stroll was not in his good books and there wasn't too many nice or positive things stated. So
we won't put the actual quote on, but Stroll had the audacity directly after to come on the radio and say, basically call Daniel a peanut and say he broke right in front of me, he brake checked me, which is just not true.
Well,
Oscar
when there's how many other cars in front of
yeah, Oscar actually came out and completely debunked that and said, yes, everyone slammed the brakes on, but everyone else managed to not hit anybody. So if you're a Formula 1 driver, you should probably be able to brake. Yes, it was really abrupt, but that's what they trained for. Stroll, his car was damaged a little as well, but yeah, not how we want Daniel to finish his race. And on top of that, he's actually been given a 3-place grid penalty for the next race in Miami for a safety car infringement, which I have no idea really what he did. It might be this, which wasn't his fault, but either way, he's got a penalty. I think RB might challenge that one. I'm not sure. We'll have to see how it plays out. But the good news is that might mean that hopefully he's able to race in Miami, and they haven't flicked him yet. He desperately needs points. Someone that, just continues to take all the points was my boy Max Verstappen. Took the race. Again, he's 26 different track he's raced and won at. And he also took Red Bull's 100th pole before the race after Seb Vettel got there first in China at the same track all those years ago. And this is just beautiful. I had to add this in. He didn't score any points, but Zhou Guan Yu, 20 years ago, he came to this, and I didn't get the photo, but it's so cute. Came to this same race as a fan with his flag. 20 years on, he's fulfilled his dream and raced in front of a massive Chinese crowd, his home crowd. And you just love that. This is such a powerful photo. They actually gave him his own little spot on Parc Ferme, which is usually reserved for the podium finishers. They had his face there. They had him park on the main straight, and he got out and he was in tears, as you would be. It almost makes me emotional. Just like everyone was screaming his name. There was Zhou signs everywhere, and trying to love this guy. And he didn't score any points, but it didn't matter. It was an emotional moment, a great photo as well. So well done to him. His first home race and the first Chinese driver to have a home race in quite a long time, I think, or either. So yeah, awesome as well. But yeah, that's F1. Max continues to lead the championship. He was clinical. He didn't even start on pole for the sprint race, but he took that out, took the race out as well. And his next chance to take another win will be back in Miami the first week of May. Over to the NFL, and just a short one here. The draft is this Friday, the 26th, the first round, and the rest will run this weekend. So good luck to all the potential draftees, all the Aussies, including, obviously, that we know of, Tory Taylor, the superstar punter out of Iowa. Hopefully he can find himself a new home in the NFL. Congratulations and all the best to all the other Aussies hoping to find a spot. Alongside all our Aussies currently in the NFL, and Paddy Murder, who will be trying to look down a roster spot at the Jags. But I'll be taking the draft very keenly. I've got a fantasy team to look after, and I'm also very interested. So that'll be in Detroit starting this Friday. Over in the world of cricket, this is quite remarkable. we talked about Travie Head a few weeks
Yeah.
ago, and we said he is probably the best in most dangerous in the world when he gets going.
And then you forget about this bloke.
We forgot about this guy, and the country's forgot about this guy because he is not an Australian contracted player right now. He does not have an Australian contract.
I'd be
He took
wanting
it
to change
personally,
it.
Woods.
I'd be wanting to change it, especially 124 not out. The highest in the IPL, but off 63. 63 balls.
The highest.
The highest for this season.
The highest score by a chasing batsman too ever. I'm pretty sure.
So 124 not out. The next best. Have a guess who that would be.
Will that be Travis Head?
Nah.
No?
An Indian. 113 not out off 72. Very, very. He's the king.
The highest ever score in the IPL by a chasing batsman, 124 not. Off.
So in this season. I didn't mean chasing.
Yeah, just off 63 balls, and yeah, obviously he hasn't been doing this often enough recently to warrant his selection or contract. But if you're doing this, I know it's completely different conditions. It's months away, but if you're doing this and you've got someone that's able to do this and bowl a couple of overs, I think you do have to take him to the West Indies.
Oh,
it's just built for him.
His T20 form is exceptional, and when you're, as I said, the likes of Virat Kohli is in second for this season's of IPL, 113 not out. We had Travis Head, as we've mentioned, 102 off 41, and that's just for the batters. We'll go through the bowlers and another episode coming up in the lead up to that World Cup, but still 124 not out, 13 fours, 6 sixes. That to me is purely incredible. Strike rate of 196.82.
It's amazing. And just on cricket, obviously, if you listen to last week's episode, we had our cricket guru in the fish on, and he was talking a bit of English cricket, a bit of county cricket, and saying that the Kookaburra ball makes everything batting paradise. Well, he sent through a message in our group chat a few days ago when the Dukes balls were back out, and our boy Chris Tremaine took a wicket with the second ball, his second ball of the match, and all of a sudden wickets were falling everywhere. He was giving us a bit of a running commentary, and he said Northampton, for an example, had more wickets than they took in a full day and a half with the Kookaburra, and that was only in a couple of hours. So it's all happening. It's funny, like we said last week, when you swap a ball over, how crazy and how dramatically it changes the game. But Marcus Harris was still able to score a double ton. So 214 it was when Fish sent the message last week. Congratulations to Boogie finding some form over in Pommyland. Well done to him. Very happy to see him score. He's a great player and a great bloke as well. We love a Victorian scoring some runs. So well done to him. We'll have Fish on hopefully soon to wrap up the last few rounds of the County Championship again. Talk a bit of Prem as well, probably. But it's the NBA playoffs at the moment, and I'm not going to delve into the stats because they're on right now and they're not going to stop until May, June. So I'll give you a big wrap then. But obviously in the playoffs at the moment, we've got Josh Giddey and the number 1 seed Oklahoma City Thunder, who had a clutch win in Game 1 over the New Orleans Pelicans, and obviously Dyson Daniels. He didn't quite see any court time in that one. That's going to be a great series to watch. A lot of young talent in both of those sides. So make sure you continue with that series. We've got Josh Green and Dante Exum in Dallas. They play the Los Angeles Clippers. They're down a game in that one, but they still have their 2 games at home coming up. So they're both doing well. They've got Joe Ingles and the Orlando Magic. They're taking on the Cleveland Cavaliers. They also lost in Game 1, I think, as well. But hopefully Big Joe can turn that one around. And then obviously you mentioned Dyson in New Orleans and Patty Mills and the Miami Heat. Well, they've got one of the tougher assignments in the competition. They're facing the Boston Celtics at the moment, who are championship favourites alongside the Denver Nuggets. So that'll be a tough one for Patty. But there are Aussies in the NBA. I can't wait to see how these playoffs play out. I'm a Lakers fan, so I'm not too happy about it at the moment.
I was going to ask you about how you're feeling with your team, but I won't go into that.
I just love seeing the Aussies go about it, and Josh and that OKC team look really excited. I think they could go anywhere.
Now, Boxy, moving on, I think is a good point, as we have done at the end of the last few episodes. We've spoken about local footy. We're bringing a bit of local footy in, so I think one thing, if you're watching this and you've got a bit of in your local league of something that's happened that's amazing, please shout it out to us and we will put it under the microscope a little bit because of somebody you mentioned a few weeks ago. He's doing a tour, a footy world tour, if I'm not mistaken. But he had an incredible performance last weekend. Tell me about it.
Yeah, my close personal friend Tom Bolch. Prime Train himself. I got the pleasure of interviewing him and meeting him. He's a remarkable fella. Just one of the best, most genuine blokes I've ever met. He's famous off his own hard work. And he gets to travel the world this year playing football.
I'm just going to move the mic here, just so if you can get a wide shot of that, so you can see 329 ranking points.
Yeah, so he started these tour, which is going around the world to places like London and New York, playing in Phillip Island, so just a short 40-minute drive from where I grew up in Inverloch. Beautiful area of Gippsland. He kicked 8 goals to start his season for the Phillip Island Bulldogs. He then went up to New South Wales to Baddo Bay. Did not play because it got washed out. Was footy getting washed out was remarkable. Funny thing was, got washed out on the Friday night, and then he rocked up to the ground the next day, and it was bathed in sunlight, completely dry. So he wasn't very happy with that. Didn't play his week 2 game. He then went down to Panton Hill and got the win there. I think he kicked 3 or 4 goals in that one. And then last week he was actually supposed to play for a different team. So this is remarkable. He was supposed to play for a different team. I can't remember the name of the club. They rang him on the Tuesday and said, mate, or whenever during the week they rang him and said, mate, we're really sorry, but we're actually breached this point system. We've breached our salary cap. We can't have you this week. Otherwise we won't be able to play. So he was midweek with no team to play for on his footy world tour, which he wants to play every week. He's trying to play every week around the country, around the world. So he got in touch with one of his mates who runs an app, which is actually a recruiting app that gets clubs in touch with recruiters and players and gets them to play at places. So if you're a club, country club, go and look at Train Stop. He gave it a plug in his vlog, but I'm going to plug here Train Stop. It's run by a fella named Kai, and basically if you want someone to play, if you're a club wanting some players, Train Stop makes it happen. And he made that happen for Prime, and he got himself to Blighty, which is southern New South Wales, just over the border. They play in the Pecola League up there, so southern New South Wales, and he actually played under the name of Tom Bolches, so the registration details wouldn't get mixed up, because they don't play under Play HQ. There's a few parameters around it. But under the name Tom Bolches, he played for Blighty. Unfortunately, they lost 26-14, 170 to Katandra, and they scored 7-3-45. So they lost by about 130 points, Woods. But it wasn't too bad of a day for Prime. He got third best on, and he had a bit of the footy. 81 disposals.
I'd be
Kobe Bryant.
I'd be testing him for leather poisoning. He might be just suffering it a bit this week.
Kobe Bryant-like performance. Unfortunately, he didn't get the result, but he played everywhere. I watched the vlog, and Premier Data, who are big, I love what they do. They go and watch games of footy back, and they count disposals and stats for players, and they post stats in local footy, which I absolutely love. I want them to do it for every local league because it engages people, and you talk about former AFL players that have been beasting. You know, Brett Bewley is the biggest one, and a few others. I think Stevie Motlop had about 50 touches over the week as well for Warrnambool, playing alongside Nathan Vardy, which is another one I saw. But they went back through the recording of his vlog, which is filmed by his great mate Fusey, as usual. And they counted every single one, and he did have 81. It has been confirmed, and I just can't speak higher of that. That's incredible.
I was about to say it's really incredible.
Incredible. I think the only other time I've seen anything like that happen is allegedly Tom Mitchell had a 80 odd in a twos game for Sydney. But that's just remarkable stuff. 20 contested, probably could have got more inside the Prime, but he kicked a goal as well off the 50-metre penalty, and he was just really happy. He said, you know, when you get that many, you don't really notice and stuff like that. He was being a bit humble, but just a remarkable thing for the bloke. And now he's just putting together some sort of season. It's not for the same team, but 81, 8 tackles, 9 intercepts, 14 marks, goal.
That's good content.
and it goes with his 8 goals for Phillip Island. So this is some sort of season. I had to shout out Prime. I'm not sure where he's going to next, but all the best to him. Hopefully, towards the end of the year, when he hasn't got anything booked in, we'll always have you back in Gippsland, and we'll always have you back at Phillip Island if you want to, Prime. I know you had fun down there. Always welcome to have 81 down our way. Congratulations to Tom. Unbelievable performance. But someone else I wanted to mention, and it's another remember the name, and this one's a bit close to my heart because I grew up with this fella. I won some premierships with this fella as well. He's actually my next door neighbour down in Inverloch. You wouldn't probably believe it, but this guy, his name is Jack Hutchinson. So I played a lot of my juniors with him at Inverloch. He was a superstar back then. He was in all the Gippsland Power stuff, and he was also an avid surfer at the time. He's such a great guy. He was just one of those laid-back country fellas. He was great at footy, but he sort of ditched Gippsland Power as a junior. Wanted to just surf, wanted to play footy at Indy, which he did, dominated as well. He obviously moved to Perth for a year throughout that as well. And then he made the move he played a couple of years of senior footy for Inverloch, and boy, I'll tell you, he was doing this for them. When he was about 17, he was doing exactly this for Inverloch.
Well, it was an amazing mark, as I've seen quite a few photos of that from the Coburg-Collingwood game. Unfortunately, your mate wouldn't have been getting the result he would have wanted. But
no, they went down, but he then moved to Wonthaggi, who played in a little bit of a bigger league than Inverloch, but it's just 10 minutes down the road. He played a couple seasons there, including last season when he was pretty certain team of the year, one of their best players. And he was playing under Jared Blair at Wonthaggi. Obviously, that's where Jared Blair is from. And then Jared got Hutchie and Ryan Sparks, who's a superstar midfielder as well, also from Inverloch, also a good mate of mine from back in the day. They both got a spot on the VFL list. They trained throughout the summer. Hutch actually had an incident camping where he actually nearly tore his finger off. So he had a bit of small sort of finger surgery over the summer. Didn't bother him though. He was back. He's taken numerous hangers to start the year. The one on the left was at training during the week. And the Collingwood socials are quite good. I've been following them since the boys made the trek down there to play. And he dropped that one. So they had 2 frames. And the first one on their story the other night at training was that first one. And the poll was up, did Hutch mark this? And I would have thought, of course he marks it. He always marks ones like that. And the next frame was him with his head basically where the bib is, and the ball is over the other side of the picture. Nowhere near it. So I sent him a bit of a message saying, mate, you need to chill out, because this is getting a bit silly. And he said, mate, I was nowhere near it. I said, exactly. And then on Saturday, inside 50, the pack forms, and the bloke decides, I'm not going to chill out at all. And he takes mark of the year in the VFL. That goes with his 7 goals on the year, which is just outstanding as well. Especially when you consider that they haven't played too many games either. I think they've only played about 4 or 5 games. So just remarkable stuff from Hutch, and he's put himself on the mid-season draft radar, and deservedly so.
Good to see, as I said though, and big shout out to Coburg, winning their first game since round 19, 2022. It's just a little bit of a drought with the victories, but the socials were a blast with their singing of the song. And absolutely credit to them. I know what it's like at a footy club when you haven't won for some time, or any sporting club when you haven't won for some time. That victory, I was actually watching this game. So the Collingwood Coburg game, I was watching it.
It's a little bit worrying for me because I absolutely love Jack. My old man's really close with his old man. We're really close. We obviously see them all the time. Great family, beautiful family. He's always had the skill to make it. I was saying to my old man on the weekend, if he had kept going through Gippsland Power, he'd probably still be already in the league. Probably would already be in the league now. I think he will get picked up. I mean, he's kicking goals. He's an excitement machine. But that's bad news for me because we live in a little court in Inverloch Woods. There's 4 houses within an acre radius basically, and there's about 6 of us that are around the same age, 6 blokes that are around the same age, and if Jack gets drafted, 4 of the 6 or 4 of the 7 are AFL players. So I feel a bit flat because you've got Zach Reid over the back fence, you've got Archer Reid over the back fence, and if Jack gets drafted, we'll have Jack. So it's just me, Kyle, and Jarvis who are left in the court not playing AFL. So it makes me feel a little bit bad. But all the best to Jack. Absolutely love the guy. Such a good dude and an absolute star. So well done to him. I had to highlight him. Make sure you remember him as well. And who knows? Maybe the Pies will pick him up. Hopefully the Hawks will pick him up.
Hopefully he does get picked up. But as we come to the end, where are you this weekend?
So they're reigniting the Battle of the Bridge. So it'll be Kilcunda Bass against Phillip Island, some old foes that don't like each other, Woods, and it's going to be a blockbuster because Phillip Island haven't had the results they wanted to start the season. They're obviously stupendously accomplished side. Take on Kilcunda Bass, who have just defeated on the road, huge upset after not making the finals for numerous years. The Panthers went on the road and defeated the 2022 Premier Tooradin Delmore side to be undefeated to start the year. So it's all going to go down at Bass Recreation Reserve on Saturday. I can't wait to call that one. But Anzac Day footy as well, we've got around the league with Warrigal and Tooradin Delmore. It's going to be a belter as well. And some really good matchups this week. I love Anzac round footy, all the services, all the jumpers as well. And just seeing who the Anzac medalists all are, it's a special round of footy. I can't wait.
Oh, I can't wait as well. I mean, Blackburn are playing Croydon on Anzac Day. So once again, the Thursday, if you're listening to this or watching it on the day it gets dropped, it will be today. Otherwise, we will have already played. And Blackburn, we're undefeated, 2-0. Hopefully we can come out that 3-0. We are facing our former coach, Brendan Allen, BA. So I think there's going to be another rivalry added. Hopefully we get the victory and get to sing the song. But on Saturday, I'm actually making a trek somewhere else. I'm going to go to Glen Iris to watch the Wattle Park Animals. Take some photos, just see who's there. There's a few famous faces. And I don't know if the Marmalade boys are going to be there. Checkers, Stray and Will Taylor, I'm pretty sure it is. I'm not sure if they're there. I've just seen on their story that they may be in Adelaide for Live Golf. Huge that's something we're going to be talking about next week. But Caden McDonald, Connor Rogers, and a few other big names in the social media AFL landscape. The AFL content creators are down there playing for the Wattle Park Animals. So if you've got nothing else to do on a Saturday morning, I mean, it is 9:30 or 11:40 games, so it's a little bit fresh. I've actually got to wake up and they play their home games about 5 minutes away from me. So this is what I made. I can actually go watch them, then go watch Blackburn play. I'm like, might actually do that. So shout out to the Wattle Park Animals, who I shall be cheering on for the first time. They didn't quite get a win last weekend. Apparently, from what I've been told, from a reliable source, is the team that they played didn't want to get beat on camera. So they dropped their seconds to their thirds to play them. So that's just from what I've heard from a reliable source. But that's all the local footy news I've got. And I think that might be it for this week. Bumper episode next week, especially with Live Golf coming up. And I'm sure there'll be some discussion about that. And
like Woodsy said, that's all we've got time for. Make sure you take in this huge Anzac round of sport around the world, around the place. And we send our special tributes to all of those who have family members who served, and all of those men and women who gracefully fought for our country and our freedom. We're always recognising you. We're always very humbled by your sacrifices, and especially on Anzac Day, make sure you take a moment. It's a special, special day. We would not be here without them. So thank you very much. And we'll be back with you next week to wrap it all up. Make sure you like and subscribe. Until then, enjoy.
Bye.
Go.